Well, welcome to the State of United. My name is Chris Walker. This is my co-host Patrick Rockhill, and Pat, I'm live from Bosque Heights, post-match of the first match of the 2025 season. New Mexico United fall 2-1 to Sacramento Republic FC. Patrick, just want to get your raw reaction to the match itself. Just like, what if you had 5 words to say? What would it be?
Ooh, 5 words. That's tough. Probably just poor quality. I'll stick it to 2. Poor quality. We had a lot of. I think we had some good opportunities, and you could see that there was the concept of the style of play that we wanted to go with, and it's just kind of hard to evaluate that when you have a red card. I know we essentially got an entire half to look at some of that quality, but kind of just as the game went on, obviously a red card spoils that kind of opportunity to look at things. So, and that red card just kind of came from poor quality play. So that's where I'm sticking at. Where are you putting at your 5 words?
I think my 5 words would be draw 4 and the color is yellow.
It's super interesting to say.
Yeah, it really was.
I don't think I had any issues really with the calls. Obviously like the big one. Do you want to just jump into the red card? I think that. Or do we want to go? Let's hold off on that.
Yeah, let's tell the story.
Yeah. First of all, commentators really bothered me. I kind of told you this. If I hear the United one more time, I'm gonna go insane. And then mid-game commercials really bothers me. And so those are my main qualities before we even get diving deeper. But
well, let's start at the top.
I felt like early we were doing pretty good. It seemed like the commentators actually kind of wanted to riff into that. They said that the relentless pursuit of Sacramento was kind of doing in United tonight, and that seemed to be the case completely throughout the entire night. Pre-red card, post-red card, their relentless pursuit towards the ball and into our final third really created a lot of opportunities for them. And so it seemed like for United early, the counterattack was the bread and butter, and it was working. We were getting some great opportunities going that way, and it's just one of those things where we get a good opportunity in towards the 20th minute. Greg Hurst find himself in front of goal. I thought the lovely build up to that, Akale ducking and weaving through the defense, and then playing a good ball to Greg. Beautiful first touch, right? I almost felt like he might have done a little bit too much, trying to go on for another touch. Nonetheless, buries it, so we can't complain. United go up 1-0. Chris, how are you feeling going, seeing all that kind of go through?
I mean, honestly, like the first 20, 21 minutes. I mean, we definitely had that first opportunity, right? Like Pondeka off the bar, so that was nice. We were looking good. I mean, I think initially I felt like just my feeling for the first 20 minutes of the game was okay. Like the game is still, it's not really high speed, right? It felt like every connecting pass was just a little bit at a time. But where I think we normally would see like first like running in the striker position and kind of being up front, you saw times where he kind of held back a little bit, right? And so it was just kind of like a link up play. It was sequenced a little bit. So when that goal goes in at the 21st minute, I'm like, all right, cool. Like here we are. This is definitely where we need to be.
Yeah, I think it was good because I think we dealt with a lot of the pressure early, and it felt like the counterattack was like that was going to be okay when we settled in. The other thing that I kind of pointed out is we gave up two pretty interesting corners at that time, and so I thought we defended the set pieces very well.
Keep going.
No, I just thought we defended the set pieces well. I thought everything was going to go fine. Obviously, I think towards that 30 minute, we started to bring a little bit of our own pressure. You could kind of start to see the slip ups on the defensive side. It didn't feel like we were too comfortable playing as deep as we did um, uh, on our own defensive line, and you could see some of the mistakes kind of leading up to what happened, the big event in the first half.
Yeah. Let's go back though. Let's. I know we just talked about this goal, but let's start from the top though. Let's talk about the lineup first. Right.
Good call.
Well, I mean, so obviously we know we're in a 4-2-3-1, right? And initially, obviously we see Seymour, Gloucester, Naples, and Ryder back there, right? So right? Those are the four returners or four of returners, right? But then in the mids, you had Bailey, Pondeka, Vargas, right? So Vargas and Pondeka getting a start. That was cool to see, as far as I'm concerned. And then, of course, you had Gaines and Akali, right? And, of course, Hurst effect. So, initially my thought was, so truly Pondeka and Gaines really are they really are making strides. And the word is true. Like they, in fact, are like the first of the newcomers to really be in this lineup.
Yeah, and it was weird because even like when I'm looking at some of these different things, it's initially had it as a 4-2-3-1, and then some other places are putting it as a 4-3-3. I definitely like seeing Marlon Vargas get the starting nod, Pondeka get the starting nod. Gaines looked really well tonight. I thought he played a fantastic game today. Obviously, one of our key staple pieces going forward. Right. I thought Gloucester and Seymour on the ends looked really good. Aside from defensive stuff, but Zico Bailey in the middle, Marlon Vargas and Pondeka playing that midfield. Definitely seemed that they were able to drop in and help on the defensive side of the game when we were playing the ball from the back, at least to provide those outlets and then kind of get forward. It seemed like maybe one or two of them were sitting in a little bit deeper when we were playing the ball from the back to provide those outlets and kind of get forward and maybe spring a Zico Bailey in the middle that we could go out wide to a Gaines or a Kale. It seemed like a Kale dropped in more than he played outside. I definitely like to see it.
Yeah, so while Pat takes a step away for a minute, I figured out my audio settings, so at least I can hear myself again. Still trying to figure out this live stuff out in public. But so aside from the lineup, let's get past the 21st goal. I was just saying when you stepped away, I figured out why my audio was crazy. It's because my input was pulling in the internal speaker, and my output was the microphone. So that's why I was getting so much radio.
Oh, and I had to go bring a guest for us.
Oh, look at that!
Someone who is supposed to be asleep is not asleep.
That's what's up. So Greg Hurst gets the goal. Let's just talk about it, man. Like a little bit more, right? Like that was a sweet goal as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I really liked the way that we got to that point, right? And it really felt like a last year's kind of play. If you're kind of following with me, Akale gets the ball and kind of gets into those positions where Greg Hurst can find himself into a spot, right, and get a goal. So Akale gets the ball. a lot of good play in the middle, and then takes that nice build up, plays the ball out to Great first touch. I was right. Like I said, I thought he might have played it one too many times in the cut into the middle, right? But a cool finish on the left foot. Chris, what does this do for Great Hurst going forward? This is something you obviously love to see, right? One of our leading scorers from last year grabbing his first goal of the season. How do you think that sets up offense going forward?
Well, I think it's good because just the fact that, if you think about when he last scored in the lab, it had been a while prior to that, right? That was like last year, if you think about it. So for him to be able to get a goal in the first match of the season, I think that's good confidence, right? Because, you have to imagine, in that position, he's thinking, I need to get a goal a match, right? That's the optimal way of thinking. So for him to essentially get that goal right on the fact, that's good. That's a good start.
And how did the one thing that I think I noticed with with our counterattack is we seem to have controlled the midfield a little bit better this season, just in this one game, right? Compared to last season, it seemed like we definitely put a lot of pressure on the opposite side's midfielders going forward, and obviously that leads to a big run by Akale, right? I think for Greg Hurst, this one thing that I said after I saw him score was good. You want your number 9 to get on the board early, get himself something, right? You said a goal a game, a goal a game, a goal a game. When you have strikers that can, especially the quality that Greg Hurst brings and the season that he had last year, it's one of those good opportunities despite dropping 3 points right early. But I'd rather lose the 3 points here to Sacramento than to 3 points to a Hartford Athletic or a Miami or an El Paso later on down the road.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong about that for sure. It's Sacramento. It's not like it's not like it's another team in the USL. There's definitely going to be a tough opponent from the get go. They definitely have our number, and we definitely haven't, gotten any wins from this team. Let's talk about the red though, because I know that this red occurred closer towards halftime, and essentially Riding gets the red, he gets sent off. But I have to admit, there was a moment when I stepped, I closed my eyes or something. I don't know. There was a point I didn't see exactly why he got that red. So Pat, we didn't get to see a replay at this point. So what exactly, if you caught it, what was going on with that red?
After I saw it, so this is where I immediately grabbed my phone to write down notes because it's a storyline. I think that's more of anything. I'm not convinced still after watching a replay that is a penalty, let alone a red card. I can't remember who the player was exactly. I think it was it Cicerone?
Have a good one, man. See you next week.
Hey, is that the thing popping? That radio's pretty loud, huh?
Yeah. You want to turn down a little bit?
Just a little bit, yeah.
And and I don't remember who the Sacramento Republic player was, but it just kind of seemed like they were, obviously when you get in front of the defender, you are kind of attracted to that context, and it felt like they wanted a penalty more than they wanted to take a shot. And you can call me a homer or whatever.
Right.
Depending on who you ask, I guess if you're asking Sacramento, it's 100% a penalty. It's 100% a red card. If you're asking anybody in New Mexico, it's 100% not a penalty. It's 100% not even a card.
Just making sure.
I'm still on the. I'm not. I don't think that's a penalty. I think that's a yellow card for Republic for embellishment, I believe is the word.
Right.
So I think everything that kind of led up to that, and that's where I said that we felt uncomfortable in the back. Ryden super sloppy pass, something super uncharacteristic of him.
Right.
and has to fight for that ball back, right? But at the end of the day, I think that was more of looking for contact than wanting to get the shot off. And I think the ref thinks that's denial of a goal scoring opportunity, right? But I don't see it there. I don't see it from that angle. I see two other defenders in that area. Like looking back on the replay, I see two other defenders, plus a keeper in the right position. I don't know if that's a goal scoring opportunity. Just because it's in the box doesn't mean it's dogso. So, yeah, I don't know. The red card was I think the more surprising of the penalty. If you want to give the penalty, cool. But the red card was just, I think, too much.
Well, and then, like, following that subsequently, like, obviously, like, the guys are just up to, like, no good. They're sitting there trying to, like, scruff up the grass, as they say, right?
The gamesmanship. Yeah. The commentators had a lot of choice words for that, which I agree. I'm not a big fan of that kind of gamesmanship, don't get me wrong. And Vargas is the one who gets cautioned, right? I don't know if he was scuffing up I don't know if he got cautioned for the scuffing up the penalty spot or if he was just being just disruptive anyways. But
I mean, it was petty, but like, you love to see it, right?
Yeah.
Like, they were
and Vargas ends up getting himself replaced like right after, and I wonder if he gets replaced for Herbert because of more because of the yellow card or more because of the lineup that you want to go when you have to go a man down, especially when you lose your center back, right?
Well, okay, let's actually dive into that. Let's talk about that a little bit. Like, so, I want to preface it with this, like, I mean, we have seen times where United was down a man, and they still played like they were, with 11 guys.
Right.
So, I mean, I had this kind of side conversation with some people at my table, and I was like, well, I started to think about it, like, well, did confidence kind of go out the window a little bit when we went down a man? Like, did they still seem like they were playing with 11, or did it really seem like they were playing down a man? Because then the first thing that head coach Dennis Sanchez does is puts in a center back, right, to kind of maintain that four back, and essentially takes out like an attacking piece, right? So like that to me kind of raised my brow a little bit. Like, well, we were kind of set out at that point to basically really try to just bat the hatches down and really try to hold on to that one point and hope that if anything we concede a point and maybe go out of this, 1-1, right? But it just didn't seem like he was like, nah, I don't care if we're down a guy. Like, let's keep the lineup the way it is and let's still keep going at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I originally when Vargas came off, right, and Herbert is the one that replaces him, that I thought I think the same thing that you thought was just let's hold our own. It has happened right at the end of half. We haven't, it obviously kills a ton of the pressure. It seemed like that 20, I would say the 20-minute mark, right, from Greg Hurst's goal up until about maybe the 35 minutes, I would say, where that's where Sacramento really kind of put their foot off the gas and weren't going as much forward and kind of let United play kind of the style that we had originally intended, I guess. I don't know if that was I don't know what the game plan obviously was, right? But it seemed like we were a little bit more settled, obviously, after the one goal, and we started to apply the pressure. And so obviously you get a red card, it goes down, and then all that momentum that we had built up was kind of axed. But at the same time, you're going into halftime, so how much momentum actually got killed? Because I want to say there was is it 5 minutes or 6 minutes of added time to the end of the first half, where out of that they started to pressure a little bit, but not enough to make me feel like, okay, the it's really swung until we get out of the second half or out of the first half, out of the halftime. And obviously leading right after the first half, right after we come back from the break, Republic comes out guns blazing, right? Ton of pressure, still making our back four look very uncomfortable playing from the back, and obviously that pressure leads to a second goal.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. And then, I mean, that pressure comes at the top of the second half. But let's go back to something. I mean, Herbert comes in, right?
Mhm.
So he obviously then preserves like the four back. So I guess like this first game, right? We know like this is something I know from like United football from like the first season, right? Like usually the first like 5 to 10 games is like kind of a sample size of like where the team is, right? This is the first game, like and I know as supporters of the team and as we are very passionate ones, it's easy for us to get on here and and get a harp, get on that harp right away, right? And talk about all the little things that happened and and we're like, it's like clutching pearls, right? And I mean, and it's like the reality is like this is the first game and it's definitely the first game for for Dennis, like one that counts, right? So I mean, we know as we talk through the next like 5 to 6 games, right? Like we're ultimately gonna kind of get an idea, like kind of a trend of what's gonna happen with this team, right? And so if the first thing we know is that he got in trouble and he's like, wait, I'm gonna preserve the back line, right? That was like the first thing he's done so far, right?
Right. And
so
go ahead. No, go ahead. Whatever you were gonna say.
I was just gonna say, so the fact that was his move. His move could have been, I'm not going to put another center back there. We'll just run a 3 and maybe do like a 3-4, like almost not really, obviously not a 3-4-3, right? Because we're down the guy, but like, essentially, running like almost like a 3-5-1 or, still something that looks like it wants to attack. So I wonder if that comes into play, like, will we see that 4-2-3-1 that he's preferred instead of going to a 4-3-2 where you're like literally just, kind of holding the line and hoping that maybe the other team like drops the ball somewhere. Literally, he stays still with something that still looks like it wants to attack, right?
Right. It definitely seemed like we obviously kind of. She was trying to get in her words, and so. Yeah, I think it obviously, right. It's game one. We can get to I obviously nowhere near pitchforks and torches or anything, right? But it's going to be telling to see what happens now that you have Ryden out of this game going into the next game, right? And so, but kind of without going too far ahead, I think the one question that does get answered though is well, now you don't have one of your captains, a leader in the backfield for next game. Can Herbert step up? And I think he did. I think he proved himself tonight that he's that next man up, right? That kind of that next man up mentality, and that
preferred choice.
That's I think that's almost like a no brainer after seeing the game that he put up, especially in the second half, right? I think that answers that question. So now what does the style of play look like in the next game? Right. And so I think there's still obviously a ton of questions. The first game doesn't answer all the questions that we had in the preseason. So,
well, something else that kind of answers too is that with Herbert obviously probably getting the start the next time, that means Jackson Dubois is definitely like, he's going to have to be in the bench for that. Right. So he's obviously looking like a sub.
Yeah.
For that back line. I mean, but also Jalen Lindsey came in too. I mean, so I know that that's a little further into the game, but I mean, let's just, while we're there, I mean, what did you think about what you saw of him? Was there enough of a sample size for you to kind of say something on that, or do you think?
So one thing that I kind of pointed out, and this was kind of hard for me to kind of look at as far as like the quality of like our players that our new signings, like the Pondeka and like the Gaines, right? What did their quality look like because of the red card? Like we got the sample size from the first half, and I thought it looked good. But it's hard to get like the whole story or the whole point of a game. You could probably get like an attitude out of them, like how did it look, how did they feel, and things like that. But ultimately, I think at least from the sample size that we got, I think there still needs to be more. Like obviously, I think there still needs to be more of like for Lindsay, like what does that look like for him, and like what kind of opportunities are going to be present for him. So.
Well, I'm not like, and along with that, like we almost look like we got the second goal, right? We had been kind of fighting for the team, but like they were able to still do something to the point. Colley, almost had the second goal, right? Of course, he was called off, but there is the fact that it was at least on the horizon, right? I mean, and much to the point, who set that up? Rivas, right?
Right.
And so let's talk about Rivas for the matter. We just talked with Chris Wehan on the season preview pod, which actually dropped to the internet earlier today, or a little while ago, I should say. You had some good things to say. You obviously were very enthused and confident on how he would do, and so he was out there today. How did Sergio Rivas look to you?
I was happy. Like I thought he played very well. I definitely thought that a lot of the chances that he created were some of the better opportunities that United had to score on goal. Right. We could just look at that almost second goal. In the midst of a game, it's not offside, but when you look back on it, Colley's maybe like a touch, like just a foot ahead, right? And which is sad. But that ball is played in a perfect spot, played with the perfect pace, and it seemed like not all of his passes. Obviously, you can't have a perfect game, right?
Right.
But I was very excited to see him get his play, and it definitely looked like I don't want to say ghost of Rivas pass, right? But definitely looked like a very charged Sergio Rivas tonight. And I think that definitely translated into how you were saying I don't think we were ever out of the game despite being one person down, because obviously closer to like the 55-minute mark, we start to build a little bit of momentum, get some shots off, get some good crosses, get some good opportunities. And I think a lot of that goes through the run of play through Sergio Rivas.
Yeah, it definitely changed. I mean, it wasn't about, maybe there was a point, Patrick, where we did have to kind of play a little conservative, right, to try to get out of some moments. I mean, because like you said, leading up to the end of the first half, I mean, there was a point when it kind of seemed like, everything was kind of falling apart. Sacramento was very aggressive. They were obviously finding some openings, right, some seams to everything, but then there is that place where we're actually like, okay, like we need to kind of get things going, right? And so, it's the subs that come in and energize the lineup, right? I mean, we get to see Fernando that comes in, right? And even Fernando was looking good, man. What did you think about him when he hit the pitch?
I thought he provided that energy, that spark that we needed, right? And I think you probably described it better than I did. Like for all our subs, I think all our subs did give that energy, that little bit of spark, that run of play that kind of kept us in the game, right? So Fernando, I thought, had a good couple of opportunities to get the ball forward. He definitely applied pressure closer towards the end of the game, right, to try and win the ball back, but. It's going to be interesting to see when they come off on the field if Fernando's in that position again where he comes on as a sub with the Lindsay, right? The same opportunities. If they're going to what those opportunities look like when we're at full strength, when we're at even strength, if we're up 1-0, right? Because all of these factors come in when you bring in a sub. Are we up? Are we down? Right. In the score? What does the feel of the game look like? Right, all these different factors come into play, right? But I think like the biggest one is what are they going to bring when we're at full strength, right? And so if what we saw right now when we're down a man is what we're going to get when we're at full strength, we'll be very happy with the results that we're going to end up with. We'll be very happy with our subs that come on, especially if they're able to energize the way that they did right now.
Right. Patrick, what was up with all these replays or lack of thereof? I started to think Sac Rep, like FC, was Sac Replay because it was just like, it seemed like they were like, we don't need to show that. Like, that's not like to our advantage, right? But it just, I don't know. I just kind of want to get petty for a minute. Like, look, dude,
be petty. The United thing was bothering me. So.
The broadcast, man. I mean, the replays. It's small, I know, but everyone was saying it here, so I might as well harp on it a little bit.
I will admit that I was shocked that they didn't replay the penalty. I was shocked that they didn't replay the penalty. With all the commotion that was going on, I thought there was going to be a replay.
Yeah, I thought so too, but clearly it just they scored the PK, so there was nothing to really probably replay at that point.
They replayed the PK.
Yeah, they surely did, right? Trying to get those ratings up, probably.
They have our home field advantage, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Daniel Bruce comes in later in the match. Obviously it's like a high point. Everyone here at Bosque is like, just the whole Bruce chant, right, is just going off here. It was a packed house here tonight, Patrick.
It was a packed house at my house too.
I bet it was.
Definitely a lot more new United fans this year at the Baca household. So,
right. I mean, aside from the match, obviously, right? Like, it didn't go the way we wanted it to go, but I mean, I would have to say it was at least entertaining, right?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good that we got out of a bad night. I just think that there was a lot of good. I think that the mentality, I think the attitude, the stance to adversity. I can't really think of a better lost for words on that one. But this idea of we're still gonna fight into the game because most teams might end up just add in that defender and hope for the draw and get the 1 point out of Sacramento and call it a day. But the mentality and the attitude, I think, are there. Very, very similar from last year. So I'm glad that Dennis Sanchez still is providing that willpower for the boys. And kind of letting them out there and play. And to be honest, I'm kind of glad that he picked up a caution. I think that was to him. I think broadcast clarified the caution was for him.
Why are you happy that he picked up the caution?
I think that's just more for the players, right? You have a brand new head coach. You have a very tough moment in the first game of your season. And I think that's more of showing everybody like, hey, like this, I'm here with you. I'm not going to just stand back and like let it go. Obviously, they're professionals, and so that's going to be there. So I think for fans, they should see that as hey, we've got a coach that's still going to be in there and fighting with everybody and fight the good fight, I guess, for lack of better terms.
Right. Hey, so I thought I would read through the other scores from the first match day of the season.
Sure.
You up for that?
Sure.
Okay, cool. North Carolina FC and Pittsburgh Riverhounds draw at 1-1 apiece, I should say. Lexington SC gets the win 2-0 over Hartford Athletic. Miami FC loses to Detroit City FC 2-0. Charleston Battery loses to Lou City FC 2-1. Loudoun United gets the win 3-1 over Birmingham Legion. San Antonio FC gets the win 1-0 over Monterey Bay. Phoenix Rising loses to FC Tulsa 1-0. El Paso Locomotive and Colorado Springs Switchbacks draw at 2-2. And then, of course, we lost 2-1. Orange County gets the win 4-2 over Oakland Roots. And then Las Vegas Lights get the win 1-0 over Tampa Bay Rowdies, and those are the scores for the first match day of the 2025 season. So, Patrick, is there anything else that you want to say about today's match? I mean, just that we hadn't already addressed.
No, I think it's just almost a tough pill to swallow for the night. Everything looked to be going so well, and then disaster strikes. But they were definitely still in the fight. They were definitely still in the game. Definitely had great opportunities. Just game one, but like I said, a lot of good things out of a bad night. So keep moving forward, I guess.
Yeah, and we just want to give a shout out to everyone who was watching for some moment in time on Instagram, or if you're watching on Facebook and you're just kind of popping in and out. Cool. Thank you for popping in. We're going to definitely be doing these lives after the matches. Today was definitely a trial. It was certainly a little loud. It was kind of chaotic, but fun. We got through it. We'll probably continue to figure out if we want to have me somewhere like this, or if you want me to drive home and do it that way. But nonetheless, it was fun. Good times for sure. And Pat, I guess you close us out, man.
No, I don't have the closeout in front of me. I don't remember the words. Even my daughter is looking at me like I'm like, come on, man, you're supposed to know these by heart.
No, it's cool. Well, for we just want to obviously thank our listeners on Patreon. Thank you to the listeners on Apple and Spotify. When you listen to the episodes, leave us a comment, give us a rating. Definitely subscribe if you're not, and share it with your friends. And then as far as anything else, we will be back with a preview episode midweek this week, probably Wednesday. And we'll be previewing match number 2, which is the Las Vegas Lights. So, for Patrick Baca, I'm Chris Walker. Thank you for listening to the State of United post-match live stream of Sacramento FC. And we'll see you next time.